The first keynote section has begun. Please welcome an excellent biologist, our chair, the current Director General of National Central Library, distinguished Professor of Department of Biotechnology and Bioindustry Science, National Cheng Kung University, Dr. Wang Han-Ching. Please welcome.
Hello, everyone, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Casey from the National Central Library. It's my great honor to be the moderator for the first keynote speech at this 2024 PNC Menu Conference and Joint Meeting. Today, I have the privilege to introducing our distinguished speaker, Professor Sang-Hyup. Professor King is currently an invited speaker at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, and is also currently served as the Co-Chairperson of the Presidential Commission on Carbon Neutrality and Green Growth of the Korean government. His expertise lies in a sustainable development and green growth strategy in which he made significant contributions. Over the years, Professor King has played a very important role in the shaping Korea's environmental policies. For example, in 2011, he has been appointed as the Senior Secretary to the President of for the Green Growth, while he also coordinates the development of the Korean Green Growth Strategy at both national and international levels. Just last week, Professor King has been appointed as the new Director General of the Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI. Congratulations, with his term begins on January 1st, 2025. This position as the Director General will lead and manage over 250 projects in 51 countries worldwide. His appointment of this role is a testament to his invaluable contributions to global sustainable efforts. Today, Professor King will discuss the topic related to the climate crisis and the Green Big Bang, as we know that climate change is a big issue worldwide. His Green Big Bang concept emphasizing the importance of the innovation and the sustainability as the key to align the economic growth with environmental protection. This approach integrates the green energy, mobility, and the technology to create a new low-carbon industrial ecosystem. His work has advanced South Korea's low-carbon policies and implement the global climate change efforts. Let's not delay further. Please join me in warm welcome Professor King to the stage.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for very, very kind introduction. It is my true honor to be a part of this meaningful and important gathering under the umbrella of PNC. I understand it is Pacific Neighborhood Consortium, right? Wonderful naming. Well, and I'm also truly honored to meet with the Professor Choi Kang-sik, former Minister of Culture and sports. What is it exactly? And thank you. And I especially express my deep gratitude to Professor Lee Jin-han, the the director of Asiatic Research Institute, which is a really distinguished institute, which has more than 70 years of history, to my knowledge. Anyway, I'm so much pleased and delighted to be a part of this gathering. As you heard, my English is not that good. Please bear it with me, about 45 minutes. Okay. So I understand. I am deeply impressed by the key words of this forum: green, flow, and signal. Green, to me, it means a kind of for our sustainable future. Flow means a kind of inclusive communication and sharing. And signal means data, information, and knowledge that can give us right direction. I hope I'm not that wrong in that regard. So first of all, yeah. Let me take a look at my slide. I wonder if you are familiar with this person whose name is Ray Kurzweil, who wrote the kind of world-famous book, "The Singularity is Near." I met him about 10 years ago in San Francisco, and his book boldly predicted that the singularity would come around 2045. Here, singularity means the point where the total intelligence of machine would suppress that of human. I'm not into that kind of utopian outlook, but I was really surprised by his prediction. At the time, we didn't see really meaningful artificial intelligence. But in the year 2016, I hope you remember the well-known match between the global gold champion Lee Sedol, a human, and AlphaGo, a machine. There was a big match. And as a big fan of Go, Baduk, I was so sure that the machine could not beat human. But it betrayed my expectation. The machine won. Lee Sedol, the human. And it greatly changed my perception on AI. And the recent development of GPT, generative artificial intelligence, also changed the global perception of AI. And Ray Kurzweil this year wrote another book. The title is "The Singularity is Nearer." It is coming much faster when we merge with AI. He says AI has mastered many of humanity's toughest intellectual changes, including Go. And the fifth epoch, when AI masters language and common sense, reasoning like a human, is about to come around 2029. That is the year when Elon Musk is forecasting we will have artificial general intelligence. I don't know whether it will happen or not, but he is implying singularity would come around 2030s, not 2045. So it's a kind of exponential change. And this guy, the CEO of NVIDIA, is now telling us an AI now understands humans' intention, not just our instruction. Then what will happen then, now? He says we are just at the beginning of AI revolution, And we need to win at least 2 wars at the forefront. One is chip war. Chip war. It is understandable. We need to have better chips to run it. Another, we need to have much more clean energy war. Clean energy, because it needs huge amount of energy. Then why clean energy, not just energy? This is the head of the IEA, International Energy Agency. I became a member of the Global Energy Commission of International Energy Commission agency. And according to the report analysis of IEA last year, the 10% of global GDP growth came from clean energy investment and development. And he says AI and clean energy has become inseparable couple. Inseparable couple. Why? Well, AI is playing a very impressive role in forecasting the weather, extreme weather, and running renewable energy base, and managing power grid and transportation system. So it would greatly contribute to reducing our CO2. But on the other hand, it will require unimaginably big amount of energy. As for Google, who developed the deep mind and who made a victory over human, nowadays spends at least 15% of its total energy use on machine learning itself. And according to radical predictions, somewhat radical, maybe next decade, AI and AI-related data center would spend more than half of the whole electricity in the world. I guess professors from Taiwan, TSMC is asking a lot of energy, and is provided by offshore wind power. It's a really, really meaningful step to provide clean energy. Then why clean energy? As you all know, it's because of the climate change we are facing. According to the study, he has had done profound studies on Earth. So according to John Rockstrom, there are 9 planetary boundaries, which are something like guardrails to protect us living in this planet. 4 of them are extremely at high risk. The most outstanding one is obviously climate change. We are all told hitting the 1.5 degrees Celsius is dangerous. It will hit the so-called tipping point. While the IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, forecasted it would happen around 2040. But last year, we were almost there, according to the World WMO and prestigious institutions, almost 1.5 already. And what worries me and what worries climate scientists a lot is the ocean temperatures. It is hitting records high. So far, the ocean has absorbed the heat generated from the Earth. So it absorbed and stabilized the Earth tremendously. But if we see this kind of abnormal rise of ocean temperature, there might be a chance for the ocean to vomit the heat. And we do not exactly know what kind of feedback will give us. So we don't know what we don't know, in some sense. So this is the basic background why we need clean energy. And this is drawn from the Global Risk Report from the World Economic Forum, and the global leaders and experts of the world regard climate change as the biggest global risk. Maybe it is too big to be noticeable. Somebody calls it hyper-object. But among the global top 10 risks, half of them are related to climate change, because it is about our existence itself. That's why they call it existential risk. Professor Lee asked me to talk about Korea's case of green growth. So let me briefly tell you about Korea's green growth strategy. Minister Choi and I worked for the same administration, Lee Myung-bak administration. And in the year 2008, more than 15 years ago, Korea proclaimed a new national vision that is low carbon green growth. It is about the response to climate change. As a kind of early mover, Korea tried to transform the forthcoming climate challenges into new opportunities. So instead of going business as usual pathway, ABD, we tried to take a different but sustainable pathway, ABC. The green triangle BCD would mean a lot of burden. But if our climate response is inevitable, it will create huge opportunities, creating new technologies, new industries, new jobs, and our sustainable economy. So there are several features of Korea's green growth strategy that has been exercised for full 5 years under the leadership of President Lee Myung-bak at the time. It was self-determined for national future and long-term interest. Korea did that, not being forced by outsiders. Korea did that. Korea tried to pursue green growth for Korea's own sake, because we thought if we do well with climate change, we will be better off. So it was self-determined, because that is important, because that is, you have the ownership of your policy, right? And as you guess, we had strong initiative from President that was pushed by the presidential leadership. And we have a very good coordinating governing structure. At the time, I was a secretary to the president for Green Growth, and we had a champion body in the name of Green Growth Committee that could override departmental conflicts and various stakeholder issues. And it was not just about environment, it was not just about industry. It tried to have a kind of overarching, holistic strategy, because it is about the system change as a whole. And as you know, we have a kind of 5-year only presidency only. You are allowed just one term, 5 year, that's all. So to tackle the risk of political regime change, we try to institutionalize our green growth by enacting framework acts on low carbon green growth, that is fundamental law, which is supporting green growth, and it is still alive. And we, Korea, introduced Act on the allocation and trading of greenhouse gas emission permits. That was done first in Asia. That was followed by China and many other countries. And we also tried to internationalize our green efforts. That's how Korea came up with the Global Green Growth Institute. Now it started from with a coalition of like-minded countries of 16 countries. Now it has 48 member countries. And we also hosted the headquarters of GCF, Green Climate Fund, which is the largest climate finance body. That is UN organization. So we have 2 international organizations in this small country. And finally, but that is also truly important, we heavily invested on green tech. So the year 2008, our green technology R&D was about 1.5 trillion Korean won. But in the year 2012, it increased to 3.5 trillion won. Annual average 25% growth. That was not easy one. We tried to concentrate our effort in developing innovative green technology. That's how Korea now enjoys electric vehicles, batteries, energy storage system, and ultra energy efficient perovskite, solar cell, etc. Well, there was a tremendous effort from the private sector, the companies, but government supported that kind of playing ground. And we created, that was the last year of the President Lee Myung-bak, and we created so-called green growth architecture on strategy, on finance, on technology, and last not least, we have a school for people, because it is people and education and human resources that has brought Korea to this level. We are extremely resource poor country. We don't have nothing to drill down. We try to drill our brain. That's how Korea reached to this point. Well, there are many things to be improved without doubt, but so one example, the Green School of Korea University. Do we have Professor Ha Yun-hee? Yeah, she's the one. She's running that school, Professor Ha Yun-hee. She's a member of our commission. She plays really important things. She's doing energy R&D. She's developing international cooperation structure, especially in Asia. But that's because Korea has a platform like this, Green University. As for me, I'm from KAIST. KAIST gives me salary. We set up Graduate School of Green Growth in the year 2013. So we have had more than 200 alumni. They are playing very important role in every corner of our country, playing a kind of junior leader, something like that. So if I had to choose just one thing, strategy, money, technology, I would choose people. That is the best investment, but never been enough sufficient investment has been made so far. There are some achievements, of course, for Korea's first phase green growth from 2008 to 2013. Well, I am not saying Korea did perfectly well. No, we made many errors and mistakes and stupid things, truly speaking. But there are some meaningful achievements. We have invested about 4 or 5 years, about 100 trillion Korean won. It's a big money. If you look at the size of the Korean economy, we have witnessed a huge job creation effect. And while we spent a lot of money on green area, it didn't undermine our economy. On the contrary, it served to the quickest recovery of our economy affected by the global financial crisis that happened in 2008. And gladly, we at last, Korea is a very energy-intensive country. So our energy growth rate, energy consumption growth rate, and also greenhouse gas emission growth rate always surpass that of the economic growth rate. But from the year 2012, something has changed. And even the year 2014, it went to minus. And as I said, Korea's green growth strengthened the global green competitiveness, as I told you. So, did it go well? Did it continue well? I'm afraid not that well. There has been political ups and downs. And Korea is not an exception. The preceding administration downplayed previous government's efforts. There's a kind of political tendency in the United States. Obama tried to do green things a lot, but it was downplayed, almost kicked away by President Trump, as you know. So politics is the problem. Politics is not good for long-term solution. This is a book written by American scholar, professor of Texas, Jeremy Suri, who wrote The Impossible Presidency. The president of US was regarded the highest office, not just in America, but also in the world. But he said it has become kind of impossible presidency. The increasing polarization in American politics and the tendency for presidents to focus on short-term gains rather than long-term solution. And I don't think America and Korea are the exceptions. There are many cases like that in the world. But then again, as I said, we are experiencing a worsening climate crisis, and carbon neutrality or net zero has become a global common goal. US had led the way, but since the President Biden, US has been taking a kind of leadership role as mainstream driver. And in the name of IRA, it has spreading the historically largest amount of budget expenditure to boost up green industries. And China also is, not to mention Taiwan, China is now leading green industry. This is not well-known story, but when the President Xi Jinping was Vice President of China, he visited Korea and met with Korean President Lee Myung-bak, 2009. And he told us that looking at the future of China, China needs new strategy. And after the meeting, and when he became the president of the China did its own type of green growth in the name of green development or something like that. So they invested consistently a lot of money to develop electric vehicle, battery, and photovoltaic technologies. And TSMC has become the #1 chip making country. It's amazing, amazing. Continuity is the name of the game. If you can secure continuity, then you can have advantage. That was the thing. Anyway, the President Yoon Suk-yeol of Korea made the comeback of green growth again. 2 years ago, President Yoon set up the Commission for Carbon Neutrality and Green Growth, and I became the co-chairperson of this commission. Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is co-chairing the commission. And the big task given to our commission was this: to cut 40% of Korea's greenhouse gas emission by 2030. And that pledge was made in 2021 by the previous government. But that year, 2021, when Korea pledged that Korea would cut 40% cut, the actual number was more than 3% increase. It is really, really daunting task. But we set up a clear 3 guiding principles. One is responsible. We are going to keep the pledge made by the previous government because this is about continuity. So we will do our best to implement what Korea has promised to the world. That's also for our future generation. But we try to root to scientific rationale, not ideological one, for decision making. So we try to reform our energy mix. Second, orderly transition. We try to make it kind of predictable and transparent transition. Third, again, innovative progress. Innovation is one of the most important guiding principles. Okay, now let's do it again to develop green technologies and people. That was manifested what we made action plan for emission reduction target by 2030. It took several months, sleepless months, to come up with this action plan. And we coordinated, especially our energy mix policies, which means we invited the proper role of nuclear energy to the right place. And while also we try to maximize renewable energy as much as possible. There were several meaningful coordination of policy mixes. And on top of that, we tried to put several strategies to realize Korea's green growth way possible. It is about technology, industry, people, and money. So we have identified 100 key green technologies, and some of them are being in the process of selection because we need more concentration for some of Korea's green technology to reach the point of semiconductor. You know, the position of high-tech batteries or something like that. SMR could be the case. Small modular reactor, etc. Electrolyzer for hydrogen economy, something like that. So we, among these top 100 key green technology, we need 4 or 5 should lead the world. According to the McKinsey, there will be $1 trillion green yearly revenue by 2030. $1 trillion. This is not just hope. The market is growing. And McKinsey is expecting there will be 1,000 green unicorn by that year. And Korea tried to get some of it. Yeah, that's why I said Korea did try to pursue green growth for its own sake, but this time it would serve the global interest in a sustainable way. Without assuring your interest, it's not easy to move. We also try to, not just university level human resource, we also try to foster a workforce for our transition. Strategy 2 is expand clean energy industry and decarbonize our heavy industry, which is yet to come noticeably, because we need to set up proper carbon price on it. We are working on it. And we try to boost climate tech ventures. We classified 5 important climate tech: clean tech, carbon tech, eco tech, food tech, and geotech. And for this, last year, we made a plan to invest more than $100 billion for climate tech. But that is not enough. Strategy number 3 is about money. Expand green finance and influx of green capital. Looking at the size and volume of the green transition would require governmental money could be never enough. Never enough. We plan to invest about $70 trillion for 5 years for this grand transition. We know it could never be enough because the change we need to have is so big. So we need to vitalize the money from the private sector. So with the initiative from the Central Bank of Korea, and then Ministry of Finance, Financial Services Commission, Financial Supervisory Commission, and the Ministry of Environment, last March, we released a plan to mobilize $300 billion in the form of blended finance, not just public, from the private sector. So 5 major financial groups joined that plan. So far, what is the outcome of the new administration's efforts? Well, 2022, we decreased our carbon emission more than 3.5%. But last year, we estimate about 5%. But is it enough? No. Achieving net zero requires much more than. And the change is happening only in power sector, in energy sector. Why? Because we increase nuclear and renewable. Both are low carbon or zero carbon energy. But in terms of industry, in terms of transport, building, waste management, much more need to be done. So you cannot finish this game within 1 or 2, 3 years. It would require several decades, even 2 or 3 consistent generations. That mission is that big and demanding. What is important is keep on going. And there are several remaining challenges, especially painful pricing on energy and carbon is inevitable. We have raised our electricity tariff more than 5 times. 5 times. As per the previous government, froze the electricity price. Then raising 5 times of electricity bill is enough? No. No. But this is extremely unpopular policy. When it comes to carbon pricing, as I told you, we have a very big energy intensive industries such as steel, cement, petrochemical, semiconductor and display, etc. They all spend a lot of energy. But there's an increasing pressure from the world, especially EU and the US, decarbonization in the name of CBAM. I am sure you heard about it. I will give you a kind of counter tariff if you don't do your carbon, something like that. Carbon border adjustment mechanism. And US is going to introduce its own in the name of foreign pollution free. Because according to the US law, the Clean Air Act, CO2 is regarded as pollutant. Even though US does not have a carbon pricing mechanism, they will do so. Whether Trump, whether Harris, it is kind of bipartisan way. Well, let me tell you about the global side again. Even though we have pledged global net zero, frankly speaking, global greenhouse gas emission is still growing. And we see the rising sea level. There are many unhappy things are still unfolding. And according to the recent study, only 63 out of 1,500 climate policies in the world were successful. Only 63 during the last 2 decades, because most of them were not effectively integrated with pricing. As I told you, pricing is, in the short term, very unpopular thing. But in the long term, it is the mechanism to move to a different sustainable pathway. Okay, my time is running out. So we need more audacious and unthinkable approaches. Well, this is Jeremy Rifkin, who wrote the book of Third Industrial Revolution. Well, everything we have new energy, new transport, new communication, we change the world. I cannot go into details, but if we combine these 3 things together, we can spur big transformation. He calls it Third Industrial Revolution. I call it Green Big Bang. And we try to do that in Jeju Island. Jeju is the largest island with more than 700,000 population. Jeju now has tried to make it carbon free for more than 10 years. And Jeju is #1 in terms of the penetration of the renewable energy and electric vehicles with smart grid system. Not perfect one. But now, with those efforts, now Jeju is the first province which is producing green hydrogen. And at the end of this year, they are trying to do vehicle to grid. You have electric vehicle, and it will be linked to the power grid. And when we have an autonomous vehicle, it will automatically, the vehicle and the power grid will be connected. It can play a kind of great innovator to deal with the so-called peak energy problem. So just beginning stage. And last year, when I attended the Dubai Conference of Parties for Climate Change, UNFCCC declared now AI will be an important instrument for climate solution. And this guy, I don't know whether you like him or not, maybe he's building a kind of green empire to me. You know Tesla? Tesla is a good electric vehicle, but that's just a small piece of his adventure. He set up solar city and battery making factory. So he's into energy business. And as you know, he acquired Twitter. He's now developing robotaxi. He is extremely well in satellite business. And he's now Neuralink, which links human and machine. And now SpaceX, you know it. And he's now called developing XAI. And he often says, I am doing this for the sake of our sustainable future. We need to expand the scale and scope of humanity through innovative technology. I don't know whether he can get it or not, but he is having a different multi-scale, multi-modality approaches. Yeah, there go Bill Gates again. He identified 5 key breakthrough technologies, but on top of that, he's recently added AI on it by working with the OpenAI. And our government, last April, had a new approach for our green transformation by having AI more proactively through Green by Digital, Green of Digital, using, maximizing AI technologies. Maybe we can decrease our greenhouse gas emission from 5 to 10%. We don't know yet. We are trying that way. And recently, Samsung Electronics developed AI-based smart things that can effectively save electricity usage automatically with the power of AI. It doesn't need human intervention. Something like that. And GGGI, the Korean-led international organization, is going to embrace AI and digital technologies for deep international cooperation. But there are downsides also. I had a seminar with a kind of guru on AI, the professor of Stanford, Manning, who founded the natural language process, etc. Definitely, without doubt, it has algorithm bias and the power of polarization. A very few players now can make that kind of big scale AI. It is going to produce big problem, without doubt. So this guy, the Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI, he admits there are algorithm bias. To reduce algorithm bias, we need to have good representatives of the real world. In other words, we all need to be a citizen of the world. I believe he is true to what he's saying. But he is also searching $7 trillion money to make bigger AI. That's happening same time. Henry Kissinger, the famous diplomat, strategist, wrote a book, The Age of AI for Our Common Future, with Eric Schmidt, the chairman of the Google, former chairman of Google, and Daniel Huttenlocher, the MIT professor. And there are 3 ways to deal with AI. One way is to confine it. Another way is deter it. Stop it. Third way, partnering with it. And we know what we are choosing. But we don't understand what kind of world we are creating. So the book recommended we may need a kind of Descartes or Kant in this age of AI to explain what kind of future we are going to have. It is incomprehensible, honestly speaking. I don't know. What about politics? The author of the Third Way, etc., the famous UK philosopher and sociologist Anthony Giddens wrote the book, The Politics of Climate Change. And we don't have good politics to deal with climate change. And the UN head, the Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, says the biggest battleground is at the politics. Because every country wants to seek its self-interest, not deal with common interest. And also, on top of that, we have geopolitical conflict, especially between US and China. They fight. And they don't talk about climate change cooperation anymore. And there will be a fierce competition over green technology, such as electric vehicle, etc. Number one emitter is China. Number two emitter is US, and they don't cooperate. That is the reality. I met with the American climate envoy, John Podesta. I met China's climate ambassador, Liu Junmin, several months ago. They all talk about cooperation, but not with real, tangible outcome. They talk, but don't cooperate. Right? What about the third world? I mean, the developing and developed countries in the world. They are most vulnerable to climate change. They want to go for net zero, but they don't have money, technology, and capacity. And once they are hit by climate disaster, they don't know what to do. And IMF is not helping them properly. The World Bank, they try to, but not enough. So there's an urgent call to change the Bretton Woods system. I was invited by the IMF several months ago to attend the Bangkok meeting where the head of the central banks were gathered together. And IMF is going to take this agenda very seriously. Because if they give bailout and you hit by the climate disaster, what's the use of that bailout money? Yeah, almost there. We are living in the international political system where Westphalian sovereignty prevails. I know this PNC started from the studies of history, right? So historians know well about this concept, Westphalian sovereignty. It became the birth of the sovereignty of nation state. It is about to protect one's territory, people, and sovereignty. What I'm trying to say, nation state or sovereignty is designed to protect self-interest, not deal with global common threat seriously. That is the nature of the international system. I'm a student of international relations, like Mr. Ban Ki-moon. And there's a call for planetary governance. We are seeing not just climate change, but also pandemic or disruptive uses of cyberspace, which all require global cooperation more than ever. And Oran Young, who used to be advocate of international political system based on national sovereignty, is now calling for planetary sovereignty, planetary governance. We don't have it yet. For that, we need, I think, a kind of planetary consciousness, the basic element of that consciousness is we are having the sense of the interconnectedness and global unity and holistic perspective. I asked the GPT to generate this image of planetary consciousness. I don't know whether you are happy with this picture. I am not. Anyway, this is not what I wanted to see, but the machine generated an image like this. I don't know whether we can have that kind of consciousness, but one thing is sure, the future trajectory of the Earth system and humanity, both are closely connected, will be a function of how we reconnect fragmented and even selfish communities and the planet Earth. That is the true value and direction of Green Big Bang. That is also equal to green, flow, and signal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor King. Your wonderful presentation. But unfortunately, time is limited. However, Professor King, during this speech, Professor King showed a very successful case. As you mentioned, the policy is maybe a problem, but however, the policy is also an opportunity. Sure. So the Korean government showed a very significant, successful outcome to reduce the carbon emission. So, but I have to say sorry that we have to close this session because the poster competition will be start at 12:30.
Once again, Korea is not doing really well. Korea needs to much better than this. I just want to share the Korean experience. I always say to the ministers and business leaders, we need to do more. We fall behind. If you are really serious about net zero and the threat of the climate crisis that is threatening our existence, we really need to do more. Please don't get me wrong. Korea is not doing that well.
So that's why we should cooperate with each other to establish the more resilient and the sustainable development of the country. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Wang and Dr. Kim for the wonderful keynote section. Now it's lunchtime, and thank you for all your participation. Please follow the step. They will show you the way to get your lunch. Enjoy your meal. And be ready for the poster course session participant. Please be ready by 12:30 at the hall. Thank you.
이거 말씀드려요?